Americans say they love Canada, but most can't name 3 provinces. Some don't even know what a province is. But let's be honest here. America's problem isn't with Canada, it's with the idea of Canada. A country that works quietly, argues less, and still manages to be free without bragging about it. Yeah, we tax more overall, but somehow our middle class pays less. Canadians also live longer, sleep better, and have a fraction of the medical bankruptcies. That's not socialism, that's basic math. Here's what Americans don't like to hear. Canada has a higher quality of life, lower crime rate, longer life expectancy, and fewer gun crimes per capita. Every American I've ever met who comes to Canada, they all say the same thing. Everybody's so nice here. But there's also this idea that Canadians are soft, peaceful, polite, and nice. Maybe too nice. But let's look at the scoreboard here. Life expectancy. Canada's average lifespan, 82.6 years. In the US, it's 77.5 years. We live 5 years longer on average. I'll provide all my data sources in the description. Annual gun deaths per 100,000. In the US, 12.5. In Canada, 2.1. We have 6 times fewer gun deaths. I'll take a second to acknowledge the difference between legal and illegal firearms. Canada and the US have very different firearms laws. I'm sure you know that. But the majority of gun deaths in both countries are from illegally owned firearms. The US has clear self-defense laws, including Stand Your Ground and Castle Doctrine. I'll give them that. Canada's seen to be too soft on crime, and we are. I agree with that statement. I don't agree with the current government's ban on and confiscation on firearms happening in Canada. Illegal firearms are the problem. Medical bankruptcies per year. In the US, 530,000. In Canada, it's under 1,000. The US figure's being debated, and some in Canada exist because of private clinics or US travel. But the point is, that's a big deal. I couldn't imagine your entire life savings, everything you've built for you and your family, gone, losing it all to medical bills. My heart goes out to anybody in that situation. And while I'm on that, our healthcare system alone does not make Canada a socialist country. Happiness, whatever that means. Even with all the back and forth banter, sometimes hostile banter between the two countries, Canadians are generally happier than Americans. It's true. We rank 10 spots happier on average. I was going to throw in a jab here about Disney World, but that might be unfair. I still enjoy flying down, and I immerse myself in the Star Wars universe. It's an escape from reality, I suppose. We also keep hearing that Canada depends on the US for pretty much everything, which is funny because, believe it or not, we're still America's biggest trading partner. Year after year, Canada is often referred to as USA's hat that keeps our economy warm. In 2024 alone, $928 billion worth of goods and services crossed the border. So when people say that we're America's little brother, we need to remind them we're the brother who sends oil, lumber, clean drinking water. Canada is the number one source of U.S. imported oil, 90% of potash, and 20% aluminum. So next time you flush and eat a corn dog at the state fair, powered by our potash and oil, you're welcome. I have another odd story. It's actually kind of a bone to pick. I've been thinking about this for almost 30 years. When I was younger, in my teen days, I was doing construction at a construction site, and we used to get lumber shipped in by the truckload. It was Canadian lumber, okay? Trees from Canada. However, it was an American company that owned it. So Canadians, we're building homes in Canada using Canadian lumber, but buying the lumber from an American company. I have no clue how that worked, if it still works. And if that's the case, listen, we need to look into this. Made no sense to me back then. It certainly doesn't now. So let's see what some of the internet geniuses had to say about the two countries in my last video. These are some of the top themes in the comment section. Canada's weak. Yeah, sure. Our troops were in Afghanistan for 12 years straight. Canadian troops fought in both world wars, Afghanistan, Korea, peacekeeping missions in over 40 countries. And by the way, the world's second longest confirmed sniper kill? Canadian, 3.5 kilometers, I believe. Our snipers actually hold 2 of the top 3 confirmed kills in history. Canadians don't spend what the US does on military or warfare, but we're not weak. And I think a lot of the disrespectful comments about the military come from those who haven't served at all. From what I've seen, personally, our forces, they respect one another and appreciate one another. They fought alongside one another and have died alongside one another. Culture. Some say Canada has no culture. I made an entire video about it. But we've also given you half your Netflix line. Ryan Reynolds, Jim Carrey, Keanu Reeves, Shania, Celine, Drake. You're welcome. You're welcome for Ryan Gosling. We're sorry about Justin Bieber. And for the record, yeah, we're polite. But we also gave you hockey fights, snowmobiles, the word A. We're not a small landmass with one dance or particular style of clothing that defines us as a nation. We have so much culture. I grew up in Ontario. When I moved to BC as a teen, I was always told I spoke like somebody from Ontario. Now that I have a place in Prince Edward Island in the East Coast, people can tell I'm from the West because of the way I speak. Canada doesn't need to scream to be noticed. We just build, contribute, quietly lead the world in clean energy, AI ethics, peacekeeping, all while half the world thinks we still ride polar bears to work. I wish. Canada just copies the US. Of course the US is going to have influence over Canada, just based off the population difference alone. US politics is widely covered in Canada, but the opposite isn't true. Americans are not as aware of Canada or Canadian culture, I should say, as Canadians are of Americans. And you can't blame the average American for that. They're just not exposed to it. Canadians have our problems. Our country's changing fast. Some say too fast. While the U.S. is trying to figure out the move of their president based off his current mood, we're just trying to make sure our Timmy's drive-thru works in a blizzard. At the end of the day, Canada doesn't need to be better than America than anybody. We just need to stay true to what makes us, us. Kind, tough, quietly proud. So go ahead, call us boring. We're going to complain about it in therapy, provided by our free healthcare. And we'll just keep being the country that everybody pretends to be from when they travel outside. And listen, I say this with complete authority. Canadians know more about America than Americans know about Canada. Every time the U.S. media or podcaster, they want a Canadian point of view on things, they go to guys like Kevin O'Leary. Listen, I like the guy, but what does the average Canadian Joe think? What do they have to say about things? And I would like to know what the average Joe American thinks. Listen, if you disagree with anything I say, please let me know in the comments. You always do anyways. The comment section is sometimes better than the video. People are clever as well. Listen, thanks for watching this video. It's a bit of a rant. I really appreciate you taking the time. And until the next video, stay sharp, stay safe, stay Canadian.